Well, welcome, Melanie, to my home and kitchen.
Well, thank you, Dr. Horowitz, for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and as you know, we're going to cook a very nice, diabetic-friendly meal today, and I'm going to introduce you to Monika Lambertson. Monika is one of the registered dietitians in our practice, and she's going to help talk through some of the nutritional aspects of the meal, so we're happy to have her here.
Well, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Melanie.
And I'm very excited. What are we going to be cooking today?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. We're going to be making a wonderful roasted vegetables with balsamic glaze and tilapia on top of that.
That sounds great.
It is great. And a little birdie told me that you like chocolate, so we have a great chocolate dessert as well.
Perfect.
Let's get cooking. So the reason I chose the roasted vegetables with the balsamic glaze is because it's really easy to make, and it's really good, and it's really nutritious.
And it smells great.
And it smells great. So I chose my own vegetables, which I like, and the nice thing about the dish is you can make it however you want with whatever vegetables you like. Just dumping those nice chunks into the pan so that they're ready to go and ready to roast. And now what you want to do is season the dish. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of kosher salt and then just kind of sprinkle it on, eyeball it, kind of what you like. Now some of the patients that are diabetic may have issues with salt, so you can use less salt or no salt or a salt substitute, and that's fine as well. I have some ground pepper that I'm just going to grind on, and then we're just going to take some extra virgin olive oil, which you could buy in any store, and EVOO, as we call it, is a monounsaturated fat, very heart healthy. Maybe you want to talk about olive oil for just a minute.
Olive oil, like canola oil, are heart-healthy fats because when used in place of saturated fats, they lower the bad LDL cholesterol.
Take your hands and you just mix everything together. You get the salt, the pepper, the seasonings, the olive oil all over everything, and then it's ready to go to be popped into the oven. I've got the middle rack ready to go, and I'm going to put my vegetables right into the middle rack and close the oven door. This is going to need to cook for about an hour. And every 15 minutes, you want to open it up, stir the vegetables. About 15 minutes before everything is done, we're going to add a little bit of balsamic vinegar to glaze the vegetables. And then about 5 minutes before it's done, we're going to add the tilapia on top to finish the cooking. So obviously, we want to season up the tilapia to make a little flavor, just like we seasoned up the vegetables. And again, I think simple is best to just bring out the flavors. So I'm going to take a little bit of that kosher salt, a nice little grind of pepper. So the veggies are in the oven. They're beginning to start to cook together, smelling good. And I wondered if you had any questions kind of about this food for diabetics.
Because everybody talks about carbs and carb counting and good carbs and bad carbs. So obviously all the veggies are good carbs, and the rice we've established is brown. So
right, so it's an okay carb. So there's good carbs and bad carbs, and that we call low glycemic index, meaning that when you eat them, it doesn't really raise your sugar tremendously, and then high glycemic index. Maybe Monika can tell us the difference between the low and the high.
Yes, you want to go for some of the healthier carbs, which would be foods that haven't been refined as much. We're talking like brown rice, whole wheat bread, whole grain pasta, and also vegetable sources, non-starchy vegetables. They're very low in carbohydrate, very high in fiber. They're going to have a minimal effect on your blood sugar. And also fresh fruits in certain portions of them, because they're rich in fiber.
You mentioned about counting carbohydrates.
Right. How would I know how many, or approximately how many units of insulin to take for something like this?
And how to count the carbs. So
right.
Well, generally speaking, for non-starchy vegetables, the kind that Dr. Horowitz made today, those are all considered non-starchy, and they're very, very low in carb. And so every half a cup of those cooked would be about 5 grams of carbs.
Okay.
You need to learn which vegetables are starchy versus non-starchy.
Right, and I know some corn,
green
a lot more
peas,
starchy.
potatoes,
Right.
lima beans. Generally speaking, about a half a cup equals 1 carb serving or 15 grams of carbs. So non-starchy vegetables are very low in carb, and that's why we encourage you to fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables and salad.
Yeah, and in addition to being low in carbs, they fill you up.
Right.
So, which is very nice. So it's been about an hour since we put the vegetables in. It's been about 15 minutes since the balsamic glaze went on, and it's been about 5 minutes since we put the tilapia in. Things are all ready to take out. So I'm going to open up the oven. and I wish you could smell it. It just smells delicious. You can see that the vegetables are all glazed and beautiful. They've broken down, and the fish is just perfectly done, nice and crisp, but moist on the inside. What I did here is I made a little brown rice as an accompaniment. Now, when we talk about carbohydrates, we like to keep, again, low glycemic index foods that are not very high in sugar. So when we talk about rice, we kind of want to stay away from white rice and use brown rice. And maybe, Monica, you can tell us why.
Unlike white rice, which has been processed and many of the nutrients and fiber have been removed, brown rice retains all the natural fiber. So when you digest it, it takes longer to break down and affect your blood sugar.
So tell me what you think.
The vegetables are amazing. Very good.
They're sweet, but they're not because we added any sugar. It's the natural sugars in the vegetable. The balsamic vinegar brings that out very nicely.
The fish is very tender. It melts in your mouth.
Right. So you don't, again, want to overcook the fish. Just a few minutes in the oven and it just cooks very nicely. Well, as I said before, I know you have a little bit of a sweet tooth and you like chocolate, and you think as a diabetic you can't indulge yourself, but you can in good ways. So I'm going to make this dessert called a ricotta chocolate parfait. What we're going to do to make this dish is we're going to start with some store-bought part skim ricotta. So I've got a half a cup measure here, and that's about a good portion for one person. And I'm just going to take a scoop of the ricotta cheese and put it into a bowl and set that aside. And then we're going to just add a little bit of vanilla extract, just a quarter of a teaspoon. To that, we're going to add a packet of your favorite sweetener. So Sweet and Low, Splenda, whatever your pleasure is, is very good. And that is added. And then for you,
The chocolate.
the chocolate. Well, I've got some cocoa powder here, and this is just unsweetened cocoa powder that you can buy in the grocery store. And we're just going to add about a half a teaspoon to that as well. And that will add that nice chocolatey sensation. Mix this up together, and you can see it turning nice and chocolatey. And we bring it together, and again, this just takes a couple of minutes to make. And when you're all done, I got this very nice little glass here. You can serve it however you want. You just plop it right into the glass. So here's the finished product. I've garnished it with a little strawberry there for you.
Looks great. That is very good.
And not a lot of carbohydrates in there.
About 5 grams of carbohydrate, which is virtually a free
Yeah.
food.
Pretty much a free food.
Yeah.
And it's delicious. It's a nice mouthfeel. Fill you up. Well, Melanie, I wanted to thank you for coming to my home today.
Well, thank you for having me. This was great.
I'm glad you liked it. Hopefully you enjoyed the cooking and enjoyed seeing that, you can really make some very healthy food for diabetics that's delicious and wonderful.
The food was all great.
Right, and I think we learned a lot with Monica as well. Thanks for being here and giving us all that nutritional guidance. And I have a parting gift for you.
Okay.
What I did was I gave you some of the leftover roasted vegetables.
Oh, great.
And I'm going to give you my one last little trick with this.
Okay.
You can take the roasted vegetables and add some chicken stock or some vegetable stock or some bouillon, cook that up together, put it in a blender, and you've got some wonderful roasted vegetable soup.
Really?
It's delicious.
I would have never thought to do that.
And it's wonderful. In fact,
Sounds good.
you should do that. Before you go, I want to invite you to our annual World Diabetes Day tomorrow at the Kravis Center. It's a wonderful day of education for patients. It's kind of a give back to the community, and we would love it if you would attend.
Well, that sounds great, and I would love to be there, and I would love it if you all would join us at World Diabetes Day tomorrow as well.